Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on the Pastrami Nation podcast. Talk about all things pop culture. I'm Kevin, and with me today is Christian. How you doing today, Christian?
I'm doing great.
Good.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. It's not too hot, not too cold. Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So today we're actually going to be talking about some cool stuff. So over the past weekend, Marvel made its triumphant return to theaters, or not so triumphant, depending on how you look at it. Um, Came back with the bang with Black Widow after a year and a half delay. It's finally out at theaters and on Disney Plus. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, I want to talk about do some kind of housekeeping here. Number one, we do have the really cool giveaway, as always, with Pastrami Nation podcast. We have your chance to win a Pastrami Nation combo from Apollo Burgers. All you have to do is share the podcast, comments, whatnot. We'll have a winner by next Monday, and we'll announce them on Monday night. So let's just dive right into it. Let's talk about Black Widow. So obviously, as we know, it was supposed to come out last year. Obviously, beginning of last year, COVID hit, kind of messed all that up. People weren't sure what they were going to do with it. A lot of these movies were going to Disney Plus. A lot of them were just being held back in the back burner. And of course, Black Widow was one of the victims of being held back. Disney eventually decided to have a release date, and they did it day and date with Disney Plus. So streaming, you can, purchase it premium access on Disney Plus for $30, I think it is, or you can go to theaters to see it. So first, before we get started, did you see it at theaters, or were you one of the streamers?
I was just about to ask you. We streamed it. We ended up streaming it. Yeah, because I wanted to watch it like right at midnight. So we were up till like 2:30.
Nice.
What about you?
That's awesome. I actually saw it twice at theaters. We kind of avoided so I had to, the first time I went with my wife and my son babysat the dogs. And then the next day I took him.
Cool.
So went to see it twice at theaters. We were debating, we had done it with Cruella. We had gotten the Disney Plus, premium access and some other ones, but this one I just felt like had to be seen at theaters.
We were kind of on that same boat, and we were thinking about it. I don't know. It was just, I think it was just so much easier for us. And I hate saying that because I want to support the theaters, right, and everything. I think like when Dune comes out, for sure, we're gonna do the full on IMAX,
definitely,
the whole experience. But I think we were debating over it all week, and we ended up just, I think, out of laziness, did it through Disney Plus.
Well, and you're not the only person that did it, because, they released their numbers, which Disney rarely does for their streaming stuff. And $60 million streaming alone, and 80 million at theaters, like that's not a huge gap. So it's like so many people chose that route. And I get it too, especially being a dad, and having a family. It's so much cheaper just to rent it on Disney Plus and, put it in there and just watch it. Save so much money that way too.
Was Black Widow your first? Was that your return to the theaters, or have you watched the movie in theaters before that?
I had been to a couple before. Mostly, actually, both of them had been. No, we watched. So Spiral, actually, the Saw movie was my first movie back, and then Quiet Place 2, and then In the Heights was just a thing we had to. My daughter, she was obsessed with that, with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Right?
Yeah, I want to see it too. So
so we watched it at theaters, and we have HBO Max too. So we came home the next day and just put it right back on. But it was a cool, a cool like theater experience.
That's cool.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's an interesting world we're living in now. Who knows what this is going to say for the future of streaming in general, especially when it comes to these big blockbuster movies. So. Who knows where that's going to go? I mean, like I said, 60 million streaming, that's freaking incredible.
I mean, like, here's the thing, just coming from the perspective of Disney, that 60 million that they make off of Disney Plus, it goes straight into their pocket. That's not something that they have to split with the theater. They don't have, you know what I mean? That's like pure profit for them. So I see the incentive on their end to, like, obviously cut out the middleman. But as a theater fan, a fan of just being in the theater, with other people, that midnight experience with all the big fans, like I love that. I do want to still continue supporting theaters. So
I'm the same way, and I think people's people's homes are becoming their own theaters. You know, they're getting these big
Really?
TVs, sound systems, and
Yeah, and it's so affordable now. So yeah,
super affordable. So I'm, you know, I'm on the same boat though. Like I'm a huge theater fan, so I'm always going to go support, especially, you know, these type of movies in theaters. You know, like these big,
mm-hmm.
you know, Black Widow, Dune.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just all these, you know, I'm not a huge Fast and Furious fan, but, you know, something like Fast 9, you know, or like
Yeah,
Suicide Squad, even, like, I'm going to go watch it at theaters. I have HBO Max, but.
yeah. I'm very much anticipating Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I think
So excited for that.
people, if anybody knows me, they know my opinion of the original Suicide Squad movie. But bringing James Gunn on, I think I'm and seeing that trailer, whew, very
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was the same way with Suicide Squad. The first one wasn't huge, you know, huge on it, but this one looks amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On top of that. Yeah. So let's dive a little bit into Black Widow. So just without, I guess we could, you know, we don't have to give away too many spoilers, but without giving away too much spoilers, what did you think? What were your overall kind of impressions of the movie?
Maybe we can do like just kind of like blanket review, and then maybe later on we can do spoilers
absolutely
with a big spoiler warning. So
absolutely, definitely.
I think overall I liked it. There were some worry, of course. I think the thing that worried me was Wonder Woman. I know those are two completely like separate studios and everything, but it was just, you know, Wonder Woman. It was the same thing. It was like on this long delay, and then finally like released. And I loved the original Wonder Woman. I think that, in my opinion, was the strongest DCEU release. And then like that second one was like it was enjoyable to watch, but then like if you even think about it for like 2 minutes after, it's like, wait, what? Yeah. And then like it kind of deteriorates as time.
It was a bummer.
It was a bummer. So I just didn't want that, and it's definitely Black Widow is not that. I would say overall I definitely enjoyed it. I think it's it's a good movie. I would say that there are definitely things, and I think this also comes with the fact that the wait was so long. Like we were all able to build anticipation, right. And I think like so those predictions just start building up in your head. Those things that you want. And you know, while it was still a good movie, there was a ton of things that I thought they really should have done with this that they didn't necessarily do, and I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad because like, why didn't you read my mind?
Right.
You know, so but I just overall like the action scenes were incredible. The fight choreography was brutal. Like,
dude, it got bloody.
Nuts. Like, yeah, they put her through some stuff that should normal. She should have died like 7 times in that movie, I think. But there was a lot of heart to it. There was a lot of it that I really, really, really enjoyed. And I would obviously recommend the movie for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I'm in the same boat. So there were some small issues I had with some of the, you know, pacing stuff and like stuff in like the third act and stuff. If I was to really like tear it apart, but overall as like a fun action movie, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It reminded me a lot of Winter Soldier in kind of tone. It was very grounded, had that kind of espionage thriller vibe, which I thought was really cool. I love when Marvel kind of does weird, different things like that, where it's not all about the big explosions, the big action, the big CGI stuff. I mean, yeah, this stuff has plenty of that, but it felt more grounded. It felt more like obviously there was some stuff that was totally kind of way out there and outlandish, right? But for the most part, it felt grounded. It felt fun to be in this world. I liked. It was funny because I like Natasha. I think she's great, but for me, she wasn't the best part about her movie. Which and so I thought Yelena, like Florence Pugh,
stole the show. Like steals the show.
Easy. And part of me thinks that was kind of done on purpose because I mean, obviously, we'll get into some spoilers later, and so yeah, I mean, it kind of is more her movie than anything else. David Harbour's Red Guardian was freaking perfect. Perfectly cast, perfectly, like he was just great. It had, like you said, it had a lot of heart. It had a lot of it was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be. Like not like haha, like hard, but it had some really, really funny one-liners. And like I said, Florence Pugh, it was mostly because of her too. Like every scene she was in, she ran with and she stole it, and it was incredible. Now, would I say, like you said, it was waiting, anticipating, building up all this anticipation for it. I had kind of the same thing when, I saw Wonder Woman. I didn't want this kind of the same thing to happen to Black Widow. And it didn't, thank gosh. But
yes.
But it was overall I'd say it was a solid movie. It was fun. I think fans going into it expecting this huge like Endgame like spectacle, they're not going to get that.
No.
You're not going to get a Avengers or anything like that. It's a smaller movie. It's one of their, more intimate stories. And I really like that. It kind of reminded me of the Disney Plus shows in a way, how they kind of get more personal with the characters. You get to know them more. You get to spend more time with them. And that's what kind of Black Widow reminded me of. Like they took the cue from the Disney shows and, did that in a movie form.
With Black Widow being like, obviously one of the Avengers who hasn't gotten a solo movie this whole time, who's kind of been, a supporting character this whole time. We needed that, I'm sure everybody involved like wanted to do that so we could finally get that side of it. I think I would say like this is the most emotion that we see aside from Endgame. We got to see a lot of emotion out of her, and even in Winter Soldier, we got to see like a little bit like the other side of her. So it was nice to kind of to get to know her a little bit more one last time. I think that was fantastic. Yeah. I think so. It's not perfect, right? The movie's not perfect. No movie is. I think it does speak to Marvel's like versatility that we can go from like all of the whole MCU teaming up to fight a purple roided out space tyrant to something as small as this, and like not small, but intimate, I should say. This, I think that's awesome that Marvel can just bounce back and forth with that. So
absolutely, especially after something like Endgame, to follow and even Endgame up with Far From Home came out like right after Endgame came out, and it still like managed to scratch that itch and be really thrilling and exciting even after this huge adventure that you went through, with Endgame.
Chuck in the comments, what's up, Chuck? Is it better than Captain Marvel? Do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I thought Captain Marvel was fine. I think I like it a lot more than a lot of people do. But yes, I would definitely say it's better than Captain Marvel. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, like for me, my favorite Marvel movie is Winter Soldier. Like that's my
same here. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I like that whole kind of like I kind of wanted way better than Captain America says. I loved Winter Soldier, and I kind of like that more grounded approach to a lot of the stuff. I'm not saying that I don't like the fantastical stuff too. I like let's go with Eternals. I'm ready. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just love that like fast pace, like hand-to-hand combats kind of stuff. Like it's a lot of fun to see,
dude. In this movie, like I loved how there was a lot of that hand-to-hand. Like you got to see it like up close, and it was it was clear and its focus, and you actually saw the hits. You felt the hits, and dude.
Yeah,
it got brutal and intense, and that. This is kind of non-spoiler territory, but that whole opening sequence with her as a kid and like kind of showing what happens, to her and her sister. I thought that was like super dark, like super like even for like a Marvel movie, I was like, wow.
I don't want to get into spoilers yet, but they had me because at the beginning I'm like, where are they going with this? And then it's like, oh, okay, I'm fully on board now. So for the first 5 minutes, I'm like, what's going on here? That's fantastic. Like really, really good. I realized, I think maybe 2 days ago, the girl who played the young Black Widow, Mila Jovovich's daughter. I had no idea. I was like, she kind of looked familiar, and then now I I totally realized. Like,
Dude, she totally like pulled it off like 100%. Like she was young Scarlet. And it's funny, we're actually doing a Resident Evil movie marathon just because I know the quality of the movies isn't great, but like you can see the resemblance. It's so scary.
Yeah. But, also the girl who played the young Yelena too, she did a fantastic job. Both of the kids, I think. Yeah, it's really easy for like child actors to ham it up. No offense, but
dude, no, like, they both just nailed it. 100%. And it was I thought it was, but overall I thought it was really good. So I think we could talk. I really do want to talk about a few things that might be considered spoilers.
There's your warning, Chuck. Chuck just asked warning for spoilers, so please give a heads up. Yeah, I think we're gonna. Here's our big spoiler warning.
Yeah, spoilers. Spoilers.
We're gonna get into it now. Yeah, but thanks for joining us, Chuck.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So I do want to kind of talk about that opening a little bit because it took me a little bit, like it took me to the second watch to realize, first of all, that that was S.H.I.E.L.D. coming after them. I don't know if it was just my brain not working, but I had to like really pay attention. I paid attention to the truck and I was like, I thought it was just like FBI police or something. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But I thought that was pretty cool. Out of the whole movie, what would you say your favorite? Did you have a favorite scene, a favorite sequence?
I just love the relationship between Yelena and Natasha. Like I just like kind of seeing that them kind of picking up the pieces and trying to patch things up. I thought it was really cool. I even all the stuff with David Harbour too, like just like bringing the family back together. Which was really interesting. It they tease it, they show it in the trailers. It's like, oh, it's family, and like they're like sitting at the table, but we never understood the context of it until we saw the movie, and it works. Like I really liked it.
Yeah, it was like darkly sweet when he was talking about, he had just gotten out of jail or whatever, and he was talking about how how proud he was of them, how much red they have on their ledger. He's so proud of them. But it was
not reading their room,
dude. It was so like funny. It was dark, but it was sweet in a weird way. It was like he was really like, you can tell he really cared for these girls in his own way.
I agree with Rebecca, albeit a little bit slow. Yes. The farm dysfunctional family scene was great. Yeah, absolutely. That it was, I think, the crux of the whole film to me.
I thought that was almost a scene that kind of lost me a little bit, just because like I liked the emotion and everything in it, but it did move really slow. Like it kind of slowed down the whole movie for me in a weird way. But I liked the dynamic. I liked what happened in that scene. And the second time around, I appreciated it more because I guess I just wasn't sure what to expect the first time I watched it. But after kind of knowing,
I did realize, and maybe it's because of this, but like the first time watching the movie, I was like, oh, we're right into another action scene. Okay. And then I'm like, oh, just another whole big action set piece. Okay. It was just like boom, 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 boom. Which is awesome, and I think like, maybe once we get to the farm and it slows down, it's just like, it's like you're kind of already used to the pace. So it does feel like it's taken away from it. But like, I don't know. I kind of agree. I really liked that scene. So,
that was a sweet really cool scene. The thing, so when they finally get to, again, we're talking spoilers, everyone. So heads up. When they finally get to the Red Room, so it was weird because you have this kind of mostly grounded movie up until that point, and then suddenly they're going up into the sky and into this big base. Then it suddenly becomes like a 70s Bond film. You know what I mean?
I mean, she was sitting there watching Moonraker at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Which is the same thing. It was a space like craft or space like station or something.
Which I thought was pretty interesting way to kind of you have it grounded and then suddenly you're in this whole other world, and it really did kind of differentiate the two kind of how Black Widow was feeling, what I mean, like up there, and it was just so I don't know, it kind of threw me for a loop for a minute, but I still really enjoyed it.
I mean, okay, if I guess we can, since to be fair, if we've been praising it this whole time, I could bring up the things I had some issues with.
Yeah.
I think like as soon as I say it, it's the obvious thing. So again, I just spoiler. Taskmaster. Like I think that's the obvious thing that we can talk about. As a comic book fan, you know, Taskmaster is one of the beloved villains of the Marvel universe. I was not one of the people in Iron Man 3 that like, oh, they ruined the Mandarin.
Iron Man 3 is honestly one of my favorite Iron Man movies.
It's
a lot of fun. Nolan loves that, but it's the truth.
Yeah. It's a fun movie, and like, what's his name? I can't. Trevor, whatever. The actor, Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley's performance was so good, like it was worth it.
Excellent.
But this time around, I'm a little bit like, ugh. Like I knew they weren't doing the normal Taskmaster, but as soon as like they start talking about that guy's daughter, and like I'm like, oh, that's Taskmaster. It was like telegraphed it like so obviously, but
right.
And it's fine. It's fine. It doesn't like, I don't think like take away from it. I just, you know, obviously as a comic book fan, I wanted to see Taskmaster. And it's a little bit weird. It felt like really forced because like it doesn't make sense that he would do that to his daughter. Like,
right?
Why disguise her as a man when you're training a bunch of maskless women?
Exactly.
Right. And so it's like that. Like, why? What was the point of trying to convince people that I don't know. There was a lot of things, and then like the whole like it was too convenient. The whole red dust, like clearing the minds of like the Black Widows. Because like this I have to credit my girlfriend. Like she's like, even if they were being mind controlled, they're still like of years and years and years of training. Like some of them would be indoctored. Like you know, they would feel like this is still my life's goal, regardless. You know what I mean? Like I've dedicated my life and I'm going to see it through. You know what I mean? So not every one of them would be like, oh,
what am I doing with my life?
Exactly. So those are my main issues with it. I think the thing I wanted from the movie, like especially after Endgame, right? Like I thought it was really, really important, and I was just hoping, and we could have done without the female.
I thought that was kind of funny.
I just wanted this to be like an emotional send off for Natasha. Like I was hoping that after watching this, I would go back to Endgame and they would just hit me like 10 times harder. Right. Her, that scene. I was hoping that this was going to be like a kind of like not retcon, but like retroactively, like sending off, like giving justification to why she made the choice to do what she did in Endgame. You know what I mean? Like that's what I thought they should have hit hard. But like, I also think like the strongest points were the stuff that they weren't trying to tie into the MCU. I felt like when they did like the whole like, oh, her hair's blonde now. Oh, does that look familiar?
With the vest too.
Yeah, and I'm like, we know, dude. We're not dumb. Like, you know, just let this be its own thing. Like,
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I had Taskmaster was my biggest, and it wasn't even like, but it was like you said, just kind of the background of the character and stuff. Like, I had no problem with them, gender swapping or anything like that. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. But then, like when I also felt like she was just very underutilized in the movie. Like she had her couple scenes, but it just didn't feel like she was enough of kind of a threat. You know what I mean? To the characters, we didn't get that kind of Terminator vibe from her like we should have. I feel like
we should have, yes.
We should have. But let's talk about the end credit scene, because it kind of harkens back to what you were talking about earlier, giving her an emotional send off, things like that. Again, spoilers, everyone. But the scene. So you see her pull up in the car. She finally has her dog, gets out. And then you see the gravestone, right? Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Endgame either. Natasha's died. But you see the gravestone, and I think that honestly kind of hit me a little bit, just because we hadn't really had to send off, and I saw that and I was like, no, like they didn't just do that. I didn't need that in my that night. But I thought that was a really sweet scene. And then here comes, I'm trying to remember her name. such a bad podcast host.
I'm just gonna call her Julia Louis-Dreyfus because I don't
Yes,
remember her character's
Elaine.
name either.
I'll just call her Elaine.
Yeah.
Elaine comes up, and of course we first time we saw her was Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I believe this was actually supposed to be the first time we see her.
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't know who she is. Now we have a little bit more backstory. We see her, and then she reveals that, she's, that Yelena's been working for her this whole time at some point, because she says, she knows who she is. She's talked to her, whatnot. And then she sends her after, basically Hawkeye, the person responsible, or Ronan, I guess at this point,
right.
The guy who was responsible for her sister's death. So do you think this is going to be a main plotline in the Hawkeye series that's coming?
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. They're leading up to Dark Avengers, man. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've already got, So
John Walker.
Yeah, and now we've got, I mean, they also teased Abomination in the Shang-Chi trailer. And Kevin Feige confirmed that was actually Abomination fighting cool. Wong. So so it looks like they're definitely like leading up to it. And that's kind of cool if their first mission is to hunt down like one of the former,
Dude.
That's crazy. I'm super into it. Okay, Rebecca says, it was brought to my attention. I feel bad for those who don't have Disney Plus. They tied something in only on Disney Plus. So yeah, Rebecca, and we haven't even mentioned Loki, and we're gonna say super spoiler free. We're not even gonna talk about Loki. Kevin hasn't seen the last episode yet. But yeah, so I remember way back, Kevin Feige talked about like, having cameos of, or like tying in like the Netflix show or even like the ABC show into the MCU. And he was like, we don't want to have people rely on like seeing the TV stuff to make the movies make sense. We want our movies to make sense in their own contained thing. But now that's all out the window, because like for sure, if you're not watching Disney Plus now, you're gonna be like, what is? I can't imagine, like, because there's so many like dramatic things that have like changed like the whole path of the MCU now. So from like little hints to like just everything. So
I have a friend who kind of refuses to watch the TV shows because of that fact, because, well, he big MCU fan, right? So which kind of shocked me a little bit when he said he wasn't going to watch the shows, but they brought, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was initially supposed to be the first kind of MCU spin-off, television show, but they quickly kind of deterred from the main path and became its own thing. So he was just kind of bummed out by that. So like he didn't want to put in the time or the effort to watch these new ones if they were just going to retcon it eventually and not make it part of the MCU. Which, I've explained to him numerous times. Like, no, dude, like these shows are like, they're MCU through and through. Like you can't, like, it's not like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where it was kind of maybe connected to it. These are like in the MCU. Yeah. He saw Black Widow, and of course he didn't quite understand seeing Elaine pop up and her talking, and I'm like, you got to watch the shows. But I haven't been able to talk to him about the shows either, because he says he's going to watch them eventually. But I think, yeah, man, I mean, you have to watch them now. There's no choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's a chore. They're fantastic.
They're great shows.
Yeah, they're great. I don't want to say anything, but I shouldn't compare, and it's unfair to compare the shows to the movies at this point, because the shows are always going to have way more time for character development.
Right.
I at this point I'm like, damn, I could have done like a 6-episode Black Widow. Like I would have been cool with that. Yeah.
Easily.
But Loki, my God, so good. So good.
I'm going to watch it, and maybe within the next week or so we can do something else, and we can talk about Loki and more of the MCU stuff. That would be fun. So going back to Black Widow a little bit. So where would you place? So if you had to come up with, let's say there's 3 tiers of MCU movies. There's the top tier, mid tier, lower tier. Where would Black Widow land on your list of the MCU?
I would put her at the top of the mid tier. Okay. I've thought about this. My girlfriend and I talked about we were walking through Target, like, is it better than this movie? Is it better than that movie? Top mid tier. I would save like the top ones for the big blockbuster, like the Avengers movies,
right?
You know, but yeah, I would put this up there. Like, I definitely I liked it better than Captain Marvel. Somebody was asking about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I still love Guardians. I still love like Ragnarok. I still love Winter Soldier. But it's up there. It's up there. I think it's like right under. It's right under those. So
cool. Yeah, no, definitely. I'm right there with you. Like top mid tier MCU though. It's not bad, and it's it's great. It's a great movie. It's fun to watch. But I'm more likely to I'm probably going to put on Endgame or any of the other 22 movies. On any given day rather than, I don't think Black Widow would be my first choice to watch if I was just on a random day, So yeah, that's where it would land for me. I liked it a lot, and I'll watch it again, definitely, even though I've already seen it twice. Like, I'm tempted to buy it on Disney Plus so I can watch it again.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I've watched it 1.5 times. So I'm halfway through my second.
Nice
viewing of it.
Very cool, man.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's great, y'all. If you guys haven't seen it yet, what did you guys think of Black Widow? Did you guys like it? Did you guys not like it so much? What did you like about it? What didn't you like? Did you watch it at theaters or on streaming? Let us know in the comments. But yeah, so I think that actually sums up everything we're going to talk about today. Did you want to talk about? We can't talk about Loki. I want to talk about Loki.
No worries. It's whenever you can.
But we will definitely. I think that would be really fun. Actually, I'm probably going to watch it right after we're done here.
Yes,
and I'm going to check it out, and we'll definitely chat about it in the near future. All right. Well, thank you so much, Christian, for joining me. It was a lot of fun.
Having me. It was always my pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll definitely do it again. And again, all you guys out there, make sure to visit pastramination.com for all your the newest movie news, reviews, comic book reviews, news, all that stuff. And don't forget to share the podcast and comment for your chance to win a Pastrami Nation combo from Apollo Burgers. So signing off for today, I'm Kevin. Thank you again, Christian. And I hope you all have a good night. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.